Hey, Julesblessedvegan, and as always, welcome to my channel. And for those of you who are new, I know you can benefit. So this is a two-parter on the 10th step of Alcoholics Anonymous. And Alcoholics Anonymous has been broken into a ton of anonymouses, okay? From Sex Addicts Anonymous to Gamblers Anonymous to Overeaters Anonymous to Al-Anon, which isn't even for those with addiction, but those who live with someone with addiction. Because the 12 steps is just a way to live, you know? It actually helps you go deeper than the obvious and find out the cause for the struggle and how to live, the better way to live. Even though that struggle may not go away, there's better ways to keep it at bay, if you will. So anyway, this is the 10th step, and I'm going to go into detail on the 10th step in tomorrow's talk. But for today, just for myself, because I definitely need to just process, and you're my JBV community, and I'm so grateful to be able to process with you. So actually, in the 4th step of the 12-step program, it is to make a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And luckily, there's a lot of questions that guide you to do that. And they've even written books and journals and everything to help people do that. And the thing is, the longer you've been in the program, as you get more clarity, as you feel less threatened, as you are no longer practicing your disease, you go even deeper. So all of these steps are something that you revisit all the time. But number 10, 11, and 12 is very deliberate in revisiting it, like literally daily. And so number 10 says that you continue to take a personal inventory, and that when you are wrong, you promptly admit it. So there's a big part of the 12-step program where you have to remember, and this is just good communication skills anyway, to stay with I statements, right? Because it's just so offensive and so threatening to others when you're saying you know, and that whole idea that when you're pointing, yes, you have that one finger pointing, but 3 more are pointing back at you. So it's that understanding that you have to stay with I statements. I feel this way. I felt that way. It affected me because, and to stay with I statements, really, really important. So step 10 is to continue that personal inventory. And another thing they always say is to clean up your side of the street, right? You don't want to be taking an inventory for others, though inevitably we end up doing that, especially if we want to justify our actions. Well, and you should have said the whole thing. So the reason this comes to mind for me today is because I'm pretty good about it. But sometimes I miss the mark initially, and then God has to literally reel me back in and say, really, Juliana? So what was your part? And do you owe an amends to anybody? So check it, people. Here's what happened today. And to be fair, I was treated unjustly, but I should have taken a much longer breath before I acted on it. And praise God, it's only 11:40 at night, and I had the grace to clean up my side of the street and apologize for my part of it. So what it was that I was struggling with something, and I reached out to the proper person through the proper channels and said, hi, I'm not going to be able to meet that deadline. And are you comfortable with that? Because I just want an extension until Friday. And the person understood my plight and wrote me back right away saying, no worries. And how else can we support you with that? So there were 2 parts to this conflict that I was having. And I was stoked. And I was just like, thank you, God. And thank you to this individual for understanding. So I immediately said, shh, awesome. You're the best. Thank you. So then today, when I got to school, I presumed it was handled, right? Because I bought time. It was all good. And I made it through my whole day. Suddenly it was 3:15. The deadline was 4 o'clock, but I knew that I was excused essentially through Friday. And all of a sudden, you know, an all-call went out saying, hi, 45 minutes, turn it in or else. And I was like, well, that doesn't really apply to me. I'm handled, but let me go ahead and send a message saying, hey, got an extension. I have until Friday. I'll try for tomorrow, but I for sure have until Friday. Well, this person immediately wrote me back saying, yeah, no, that's not valid. And no, you don't have until Friday. And they cut and pasted something from the supervisor. Well, it was an email I didn't see this morning at 9 o'clock because I just didn't know there was a problem at all. The email had said, oh, I'm so sorry. Part 1 is fine to excuse, but part 2 is not. And of course, part 2 was the deadline of 4 o'clock. So I wrote back and just talked about the human condition for a minute, because I totally see, especially in social media and stuff, everybody puts out these super positive, better ways to live every single second, right? Oh my gosh, they've got memes, they've got quotes, they've got like everything on great sentiments on what is the ideal way to be. But I'm not saying that people are living that, right? I mean, you can say it all day long, but are you honoring it or living it? Okay, so this person wrote back and cut and paste what the supervisor had said. It was said, no, here's the proof. I don't need to honor what you asked. Well, without really pausing as long as I should have, I wrote back and said, I get that you don't have to, but I also understand that this is a unique circumstance, that we're human, and that we're always promoting, in a world where you can be anything, be kind. I'm going to say it out loud. That was a smart-ass thing for me to say. Was it valid? It was completely valid. Is it something that's preached every single day? Yes. But did I have to state the obvious? No. But my quick thinking smarty pants wrote back and said, be kind. Is this just a thought, or are we living this truth? Because another thing that's always said is live it, learn it, live it. Like learn it, live it, be it, or something. Okay, so anyway, I just said, in case you have a change of heart, let me know. You know, but whatever. And no change of heart was going to happen. Part of what I was frustrated about was that what I was asking wasn't going to take any physical labor or action on that person's part. It was really just a timestamp. Like I could bust chops and have it in before 8 in the morning. The person's gone for the day anyway. They're not going to look at their mail again until 8 in the morning. It's a digital experience. What was the burden? I know the immediate argument is, well, if we let you, we'll have to let everyone. But the thing is, not everyone was requesting it, and it had no need to. Anyway, so I was pouting and fretting, and I don't think I was angry. I think I was just really disappointed, you know, that there couldn't have just been some human grace or consideration in that moment. So while I was driving home, God was like, knock, knock. Like, you know what? I'm driving and I don't communicate with people. I'm driving for safety on the road. Knock, knock. Really, Father? I'm focused on the road. And he's like, Juliana, you could ask, but they didn't have to say yes. They're allowed to have boundaries too. And the burden is yours. Because in the bigger picture, you probably could have met the deadline. Yes, some unexpected things came, but you had some time and you probably could have met that deadline. So while it would have been lovely if everyone had fallen into place the way you wanted, they had boundaries and rights to not fall into place the way you wanted. So how's that? Really, Father? You're always like so direct. You have to state the obvious the way I stated the obvious. Like, seriously? I guess we're twinsies. I don't know. Anyway, that's what came down the pike on my way home. So, well, they were less than lovely, and I wish they had gone in my direction. My responsibility was that I was allowed to ask, but it didn't mean they'd honor it. And in the end, I am still responsible for that circumstance. So as late as it is, I was able to write back and say, hi, this is what I need. I accept the consequence of the miscommunication as well as my initial acts, and I will follow through on my part. You remain a blessing, Juliana. That's what went down. All right, so you continue to take a personal inventory, and when you're wrong, you admit it. It didn't matter that they were wrong. It didn't matter that they were less than grateful. It didn't matter that the communication wasn't fair or clear. What mattered was I had to clean up my side of the street. And I had to know that, praise God, there's still time to amend what it is that I need to resolve. That I am an able, capable person who will get it done in time. And that ultimately, at the end of the day, it is my responsibility to follow through. And that I was able to own my part. My part said, I'm sorry for the confusion that transpired regarding this issue. This is what I need from you. Thank you for your help. Like, that part I could own. I couldn't take on all of it because, again, I thought last night I had gotten clean permission to act in the manner that I did today. But my bratty response, that part, I had to make a teeny bit of amends for. You know, sometimes things are true, but are they necessary, right? It might be true all day long. In every realm, it might be true. But is it necessary to point out or rub in one's face? And is it going to make any change? Me stating what I did was not going to change anything. Having that communication and that conversation with everybody, modeling it more in my everyday life and making sure that I am indeed applying the message that I'm putting out will be far more powerful than kind of shaming this individual, because depending on where they are, they won't even see it as shaming them. They'll just see it as stupid. They'll just see it as me pouting. They'll just see it as me writing something and being very puzzled why I said what I did. I can't even tell you how often that happens, where I seemingly have clarity and the person that I'm sure must be on the same plane I am completely miss it. Because they're not in that place. It may not have been their mindset and what their actions were, but they're not in that place to be growing or processing or recognizing on whatever level it is I'm proclaiming. So what part can I control? I so get that. So for me to continue to take personal inventory, and when we're wrong, promptly admit it. My brief little letter at the end of the day, telling them they're a blessing, thanking them for their support and what I need from them, was me making my amend and properly admitting it. But that's the best I can do. The interesting thing about the inventory, when you first do that step 4 inventory, you are supposed to make amends. And so first you write down all of your stuff. And then in step 5, you go ahead and admit to God, always to God. First of all, he was there for every bit of it. He knows the play-by-play, but he doesn't mind you saying it out loud, right? So you admit to God, you admit it to yourself, because sometimes that is who we are in denial with the most, right? So we actually have to say, I saw you. I saw my inner self. I saw my lesser self. Just as we have grace in praising ourselves when we see our better self. But we admit to God, we admit to ourselves, and then to another human being, which can be the hardest part sometimes, right? To another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. We actually tell them what our wrongs were out loud. And hopefully this is a non-critical person. It's just some personal listen. As a Catholic, it's lovely because you can go to a priest who, just short of you admitting to killing someone, is only going to listen with grace, understanding that they're the intermediary between you and God. So they really are just an ear for you, but you can go to a counselor, a friend, whatever, and go through that list of the fearless inventory. And then finally, it's actually in step 6 that you were ready to have God remove your defects of character. You're always allowed to admit those shortcomings, and you can even make amends for them. But that isn't even until step 8. That's what's so gentle about the 12-step program. And again, I was going to talk about these tomorrow anyway, but it's so gentle because it gives you a chance to really process and own your stuff and get used to your stuff before you have to do anything about it. And when you finally do something about it, you make a list of the people you have harmed, you becoming willing to make an amends. And not even until step 9 do you actually make an amends, except when to do so can actually make something worse for that individual. It's a very gentle, loving program. But because I've been around for a long time, I'm always aware of step 10 that says at the end of my day, was I fair today? Do I owe an amends to someone? Can I fix it right now? Can I fix it tomorrow, like as soon as possible? And I try and do that all the time. And sometimes, again, that person may not even know what you're babbling about. Like maybe that individual that I seemingly confronted, or even the people I seemingly apologized to, are just going about their day and they'll be like, whatever, fine, you know, no big deal to them. But in my heart, I knew it was something I had to do. Sometimes I'll make an apology to my students or even to my dogs. Like tonight I had to apologize to my dogs and even my bird. Oh my gosh, I had all that on my head and I was being very short with my dogs. I mean, like really impatient and bossy. And then even to my bird. My bird was just over chirping and complaining about the cage that I was trying to clean, and all of a sudden I was like, just shut up, bird, you know, like whatever. And the bird just was like, huh? Mom, you never talked to me like that. I literally went back and made an amends to each of them. I was just like, this is so not on you, let alone to God. But you know what? That's okay. It's okay. I'll do that all day long. I'll do that all my life that I'm still breathing. I will forever ask God to tug at my heart, to be obvious with me. I was talking to a friend earlier tonight and I was saying, I basically ask God to present things to me as if I'm a special needs individual. I mean, I literally say, Father, be so obvious that there's no way I could possibly miss your message. Okay, just like pretend that I'm not a super able individual who operates on many dimensions. Presume that I am just a lost cause and be super obvious, please. And he's really good about it. He's like, Jules, you don't need to tell me that twice. Really, Father? And you guys wonder where I get my smarty pants from. All right. Anyway, just wanted to share that. Again, I'm going to go into more detail on what is step 10 and how to do step 10, even though technically you wouldn't apply it until you've certainly done 4 with that fearless inventory, 5 with, you know, sharing that. But many of you are in the 12-step program, and I'm just going to remind you of why 10 is so important. Okay, we'll talk about that tomorrow because it's super late and I'm not done. But anyway, God bless you guys. Thanks so much for stopping in by JBV. I really appreciate that. As always, like if you like, join us if you haven't, subscribe. Let me know in the comments below how I can support you. Are you a 12-stepper? Do you try and do that 10 every day? Continue to take a personal inventory. When you were wrong, promptly admitted it. It takes grace, but there's so much freedom in doing it. Like that burden that was on me is already lifted. Is it gone? Maybe not. I'll have to ponder it more, see what people's responses are to me tomorrow. But for the moment, I know I've cleaned up my side of the street. And I always kind of see a sweeping, you know, you sweep up your side of the street. I know that my animals, even though a little confused, they saw an energy change in me when I apologized. And I know they were grateful for that. And I was grateful to catch myself in that moment. So tonight, I will presumably sleep better, knowing that I recognized those problems and dealt with them to the best of my ability at this time. All right, until we talk again, best of all, know that we are still on the planet, unlike so many, that while we're breathing, there is hope, and therefore, we are blessed.